Welcome to the first episode of Film Face-Offs, where I take two films and pit them head-to-head. And today, we're pitting two disappointing ends to already crappy franchises against each other. It's Zack Snyder's Justice League against Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. It's no secret that I've never really been a fan of Zack Snyder's work, often opting for spectacle rather than substance within his films, and Zack Snyder's Justice League is no exception. I always like Ben Affleck's Batman, but here he seems to have no character arc whatsoever. He's just the guy that wants to put together a team, and by the end, he's just like, yay, I put together the team, and nothing else is done with him. I always like Henry Cavill's Superman, but he has hardly any screen time here, and has barely any lines. Not to mention the entire character assassination of him throughout these films. Gal Gadot has never been a very good actress, and she especially shines here in the worst way possible, with some of the worst line deliveries I've ever heard in a big blockbuster like this. Ezra Miller, I thought, did okay as the Flash, but he never just seemed like Barry Allen. Not to mention he has no... Much like everybody else in this miserable roster, he has no character. Same can be said for Ray Fisher's Cyborg, who was probably the best thing in the film, but once again is so problematic, with all of this great power being given to a teenager who constantly says that he hates humanity. Yeah, that's definitely somebody I want to give extreme power over the world to. Then you have Jason Momoa's Aquaman, who has nothing going for him in this film. He was great in his solo film, but here he has no character. He's just kind of there. He's the big tough guy that makes the one-liners that aren't even funny in this one. Now, on the Star Wars side of things are a little better, but still pretty damn uneven. Daisy Ridley I've never thought was that great of an actress. She always just seems to be the same kind of mouth breather she plays in every film, especially considering this and Chaos Walking came out very close to each other, and she's playing essentially the same character. I've never really liked Rey to begin with, and here it really shows that she has no character or personality traits defined. Finn started out as a fantastic character back in The Force Awakens, but was reduced to bumbling comic relief in The Last Jedi, and in Rise of Skywalker, once again, he has nothing to do whatsoever. Poe Dameron is a dick in this movie for some reason, despite being very likable in the first film, and in the second film, suffering through Rian Johnson's stupidity, mostly due to Holdo, but that's a different issue entirely, and we'll get to that in a different video. And here he's just the guy who flies the spaceships, and does nothing else other than that. Chewbacca is still around, even though, other than Solo and I guess the original films, Chewbacca never seems like a character. He always just seems like their pet. He just kind of, he's just like a dog. He just kind of follows them around and doesn't do anything. This seems to be a running trend with these two films, where the characters have absolutely nothing to do. And the same can be said for the minor characters in all these films, from Amy Adams as Lois Lane, to Martha Kent, played by Diane Lane, and J.K. Simmons as Jim Gordon. And stealing the show, Jeremy Irons as Alfred. Possibly the only good thing in Zack Snyder's Justice League. But bottom line, how much is Warner Brothers throwing at these actors, these top-of-the-line Oscar-winning actors, who have no more than 5 minutes of screen time apiece? Like, Jeremy Irons is not around as much as you would think for an actor of that big a caliber. J.K. Simmons, Academy Award winner J.K. Simmons, maybe a minute. And a scene was cut because Snyder was concerned that people would complain because it looked like a Whedon reshoot when it was his scene. Amy Adams, Diane Lane, these people matter. Jumping over to Star Wars, oh no. They brought back Carrie Fisher in the absolute worst way possible and had her do absolutely nothing and die like a bitch. Thankfully, they didn't kill off Lando, but again, he has about 3 minutes of screen time and once again does nothing. Luke is completely flipped from the last movie, which I actually don't mind, but again, it seems just be complete whiplash. And Han Solo shows up briefly. And then there's a bunch of other little minor characters that show up in these films, from Zack Snyder's Justice League's Martian Manhunter to Maz Kanata in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, each having a total of about a minute apiece. Now, on the villain side of things, Steppenwolf is not impressive here. He wants to go. He wants to come back to the side of Darkseid, and that's really all the character he has. That was definitely worth the extra 8 Steppenwolf scenes. And Darkseid's just the generic take over the world bad guy, with no motivation with no other motivation other than just rah, I'm evil. Kylo Ren started out as an interesting character in the first 2 films, and was probably one of the only decent things in The Last Jedi. But here, after learning that Palpatine has basically completely been behind his turning to the dark side, does he do anything about that? No, just says to team up with him for some reason, and Palpatine is back. Why? This was a stupid plan. This was nothing, and even the people who like this film, and there aren't that many of them actually, acknowledge that Palpatine had no place in this film and was just used as bait to get the original trilogy fans into the theater. And apparently it didn't work, because this was one of the lower grossing Star Wars films. I know the lowest was Solo, but this was low on the totem pole, especially for the Disney Star Wars, which makes all of them make over $1 billion except for Solo. Can I call this round a tie? I don't. They both suck. Let's just keep it at that. The stories of these films are very similar, and not in a good way. Both of them involve a group of heroes trying to find a bunch of MacGuffins in order to find a big bad, and end up in a poorly done fight at the end. That's literally all this is, but at least Rise of Skywalker didn't take 4 hours to get that across. Zack Snyder's Justice League is possibly one of the most boring films I've ever had the misfortune of witnessing, as the first 3 hours go from boring dumb, and then the last hour becomes stupid and loud dumb. The film has... people say this one's more consistent. It's not. It has some very out-of-nowhere jokes that do not land, and ironically, both these films were written by the same guy. Chris Terrio, you should never work in Hollywood again. Jesus Christ. And both of these directors seem to be more focused on spectacle than actual story. Both J.J. Abrams and Zack Snyder have this as their Achilles heel. At least J.J. Abrams knows how to craft a story, whether it's a good one or not. J.J. Abrams does the mystery box type of story where he builds up a bunch of questions without an answer and has to try to bullshit his way to find an answer by the end, or just doesn't bother with it. Or it flip-flops around after they stupidly bring in another director who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Zack Snyder has no idea what to do with these characters. This story is 4 hours long and was originally told in 2 hours, and in my opinion told much better because it didn't have to drag with a bunch of these other pointless scenes. And Rise of Skywalker apparently was cut down at the last minute as well, and I believe it. Both of these films just involve characters jumping from one location to another without taking a goddamn second to breathe. Rise of Skywalker is possibly one of the most infamous films for doing this, where it jumps from plot point to plot point. There are about 5 different planets in the span of about 20 minutes, and it's ridiculous. There's really nothing else to say on the story here. This is probably going to be the shortest story category I've ever seen. There are, things I could mention about the story, how Palpatine's plan and Steppenwolf's plan, but it's pointless to go into it. They both suck. I'm gonna give it to Rise of Skywalker since it's not 4 hours long. When it comes to spectacle, both J.J. Abrams and Zack Snyder are relatively known for this, considering they can't craft good stories to back it up. Zack Snyder proves that he once again really likes this god-awful gray color palette, even when it's not in black and white. It still has this awful tinted gray color palette. It looks like 50 Shades of Grey. It really does. And with no color whatsoever, even the colorful characters like Wonder Woman and The Flash and Superman, no color. Superman even has a black suit here, and he didn't originally. Even when Zack Snyder was originally attached to this film, it wasn't black. It was red and blue. And the black suit, I will say, looks like shit. They want to say the color grading in the original is bad. The color changing here is just as bad. The action in Zack Snyder's Justice League is almost non-existent. There are about 3 battles in this. There's the fight in the tunnel, there's the Superman fight, and then there's the final confrontation with Steppenwolf. There are minor skirmishes here and there, for instance with the Amazons fighting Steppenwolf, but it was so poorly done that I don't even want to get into it. Although I will get into one thing, what kind of genius leader decides to drown a bunch of your own people in this giant building thing to try to trap somebody who can fucking teleport? They didn't think this through, and in the original cut, they didn't drop it out. They didn't drop it in. He had to cut his way out, but at least it bought them time and didn't drown a bunch of their own people. And the tunnel battle is all sorts of stupid, with bullshit all throughout, especially regarding the Flash, in which he does fuck all in this entire battle. Instead, gives a pep talk to people walking upstairs. Tips Wonder Woman's sword back to her, even though she would have been able to pick it up after she landed anyway, instead of going to help Batman, whose back Nightcrawler thing is getting beat on by Steppenwolf, and he's going to die. Yeah, fuck him, we gotta go help the Amazonian, who's going to land on her feet regardless, and just has to pick up her sword. Yeah, she's in the most danger right now. The Superman fight is completely out of plot contrivance, where Cyborg's armor is suit malfunctions and fires at Superman. And what does the League do to try to calm Superman after that happens? Do they let the Cyborg say, like, apologize to him, like try to work it out before he shoots them? Do they immediately get into like a defense position to protect the people around them? No. They stand around and wait for him to fire his fucking lasers at them. This is stupid. And the final battle is possibly the worst final battle in a mainstream blockbuster. I have never seen such a poorly laid out plan, and surprisingly and shockingly, not really, it didn't work, resulting in the Flash having to go back in time to stop the Unity, which breaks all tension when you realize the Flash is completely overpowered. The original cut nerfed him so they didn't have this problem, but now he's fucking God here. He can travel back in time, consequence-free, might I add, and stop the Unity, and he does jack shit in this fight and just runs around in a fucking circle the entire time. And when he's able to build up enough charge running about half of those loops instead of running, 1,000 like he did, no wonder his dumbass got shot, because he didn't think to go out of range of the turrets. I don't feel bad his dumbass got shot. And they all would have been fucked had Superman not shown up. These battles are dumb, I don't want to get into these. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is basically nothing but battles, it seems like. There are a lot of... From the opening chase with the light speed skipping, to the speeder chase, and then both of the lightsaber duels, which are horrible, by the way, and then the giant final battle. J.J. Abrams doesn't seem to know what he's doing with Spectacle. He's like, they had a bunch of Star Destroyers in Episode 6, right? Well, let's just put up 1,000 of them, with all of them get a Death Star laser. And none of them are going to use them, and none of them know which way is up without a navigation system, even though there are people on the ships that should know which way is up. The lightsaber battles are poorly choreographed, and the shot layout is not impressive. There are so many wire jumps of doom here, especially with that poorly rendered backflip that Rey does in the second fight on whatever planet it was, whatever rain planet thing. It looks like Camino in that one spot next to the waves. The fights are so slow and so poorly choreographed, it looks like they're swinging around a 10-pound baseball bat. I could swing a 10-pound baseball bat around with more finesse than they do. The speeder chase makes no sense because why, in a series where they have hovering speeder bikes, and even the heroes have hovering speeder bikes here, why do they have wheels? Oh, I know, so Finn can throw the little rope in there and blow it and cause him to blow up. That's cool. Much like most of this, it's cool. But it doesn't make sense. It seems like J.J. Abrams' entire thought process is, hey, let's do this. Let's just make this bigger. Let's put 1,000 Star Destroyers in here, all with Death Star lasers, followed by a series of high fives. This is the kind of stuff I can see myself writing at 15. Yeah, these both movies suck at action. Let's conclude. What? We have another round still? There's nobody over there, I'm talking to nobody. Both of these movies have terrible soundtracks, and that's putting it lightly. The original cut of Justice League was scored by Danny Elfman, one of the greatest composers of our time. But originally it was done by Tom Holkenborg, aka Junkie XL. And I see why the film was rescored, because the score in this is absolutely awful. The song choices are terrible. Snyder has terrible taste in music, might I add. And Junkie XL can't get the proper music for any scene in this. The scene, not just the scene, any scene is just terrible. The music doesn't fit any of these scenes. The song choices, when there's not just a musical score, when they're actually songs, they're terrible. And the nail in the coffin is replacing Gary Clark Jr. and Junkie XL's Come Together with Hallelujah. Because Snyder really likes that song for some reason. Fuck you, Snyder. The Come Together song was awesome, and I'm pretty sure, I know it was originally made for this film, but they cut it. Why? Because it was in the Joss Whedon cut, and we can't have that. Even though the Hallelujah song, I hate that song. I hate the Hallelujah song. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker has possibly one of the worst film scores ever. It's a greatest hits medley. There are almost no original tracks here, and the fact that this got nominated for Best Original Score is a fucking joke. And this is the reason they had to change the requirements, that a score had to be 60% original. That was this film's fault. Avengers Endgame or Aladdin were robbed of a nomination. So, and I remember seeing a TV spot that had Duel of the Fates playing, and I got really excited. It plays for about 5 seconds, and doesn't even happen during an actual lightsaber duel. Both these films are terrible. Let's conclude. Saying both of these films were disappointing would be an understatement. I had very high hopes after seeing Force Awakens, which I still think is okay, but I really loved originally, and The Last Jedi was a major letdown. So I wasn't expecting much here, and it still found a way for me to be disappointed. On DC's side of things, Man of Steel was That's about all I can say about it. BVS was a trash fire, and I thought the original Justice League was okay. So as you can expect it, I wasn't opposed to this film coming out. Well, I kind of was after I saw what kind of shit Snyder was doing with it. And I was still disappointed at how bad this was. I wanted to like both of these films. I just couldn't do it. The winner for me is Rise of Skywalker, and that's only marginally. Mostly because it has some better dialogue to it. The humor is better and, well placed, other than Justice League or Last Jedi. And at least the visuals looked better and didn't have that god-awful color grading to it. And at least it wasn't 4 hours. Zack Snyder's Justice League can go fuck itself, and I'm glad his franchise is done. I'm glad Snyder is done with the DC Extended Universe. Maybe this shit show of a series can get back on track. And Star Wars is already heading there with recent successes of The Mandalorian and the Season 7 of Clone Wars and whatever else they have lined up. So I'm looking forward to the success of Star Wars continuing, and I hope DC can get its act together. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and vote for your winner of what do you think was better? Do you think Zack Snyder's Justice League was actually good? I'll never understand why. And are you a fan of Rise of Skywalker? If so, why? Just somebody explain to me why people like these films. I'll never understand it. So, that's all I'm going to say. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.